The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Jacksonville District has a team dedicated to combating invasive species, but they need your help, right? So invasive species biologist Jessica Spencer is here to talk about the Weed Wranglers Initiative. This is very, very cool. Jessica, thank you so very much for stopping by today. I really appreciate it. So for the past 2 weeks, you guys have been working really, really hard to combat some of the invasive plants here in Florida. So tell us about this initiative.
So basically last week was National Invasive Species Awareness Week. So it's a week that the entire nation is kind of dedicated to recognizing the impacts of invasive species and why it's important to control them in our areas.
Gotcha. Okay, so what types of invasive plants are here in the Jacksonville area? Like, there's a ton.
So many.
What are the ones that we're most concerned about? Let me rephrase that.
I would say the ones that we targeted this past couple of weekends with our weed wrangle events, we had coral ardesia, which is a low-growing shrub, but it tends to form these dense monocultures in some of our natural areas. There's also kalanchoe, or mother of millions, which is invading a lot of our dune systems, which can be very impactful for some of the animals that have their habitats there.
Right.
It's also toxic to pets, so not necessarily something you want in your house.
Yeah.
But all of these plants are invasive because they're non-native to our area, and then they document impacts to either the economy, the environment, or human health.
Wow.
So it's not just one thing for it to be non-native, but having those negative impacts is really what categorizes it as an invasive species.
Absolutely. So how did plants like that get here?
So a lot of them came through the horticulture industry. A lot of the plants that are sold up north in Ohio, they are going to die if you put them outside. But down here in Florida, we've got this nice accommodating climate, so they tend to do very well down here. So unfortunately, we tend to see a lot more problems here in Florida because of our environment.
Well, let me ask you, why are they selling these plants then?
Well, again, because it hadn't been documented, so they didn't know that it would be problematic.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
And some of these have been in the trade for over 100 years.
Right, so they're like, what are you talking about?
So, yeah, but the other part of it is that our regulatory system tends to be more open to things coming in versus places like New Zealand, where you have to prove that they're not going to have an impact before you can bring them in.
Very interesting.
Here, you can bring them in unless you prove that they will have an impact.
Right.
But at that point, the cat's out of the bag.
Okay, so let me ask you, so why the Army Corps of Engineers?
So the Army Corps has actually been involved with invasive species management since 1899 because of water hyacinth on the St. Johns River. It got established back in the 1890s. It completely overtook the river. It was blocking navigation, and so the Army Corps' one of our main missions is to maintain navigation. So in 1899, Congress came to us and said, you've got to figure out something to do. So our little invasive species management branch here in the Jacksonville District Office has been at it since 1899.
Wow. Okay, so Jessica, if folks want to learn some more information or if they want to help out next year, where do we send them?
So they can go to the floridainvasives.org website. That's for the Florida Invasive Species Council. There's a lot of good resources on there. They also have links for our local cooperative invasive species management areas. So they'll have all of our local outreach events and plant ID courses and things like that.
Great. Jessica, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate you taking some time to hang out with us this